Hey everyone, if you clicked on this video, then probably your nails are not in the best shape, but don't worry, the nail care is more simple than you think. My name is Anna, and I've been a nail technician since the 90s, working for major brands like Dior and Accents, and I have educated internationally. My previous area of expertise was with classic gels, traditional gels, but over time I transitioned into natural nail care, and this is my passion now. This video will be a bit long because there is no one size fits all solution, and I really wanted to explain everything in a detail because depending if you have damage or not and what kind of damage you have, it will dictate the options that you have. And I also wanted to welcome new subscribers. So if you are new to the channel, can you please give me a wave and a comment in the comment section? Let me know where you are watching from. We're really curious. So in this video, I will cover what are the signs of nail damage, because some people don't know. How does the damage happen? And there are 3 ways, and one of them is really surprising. Can you rebuild or repair damaged nails? Everyone wants to know that. And what you should never use on damaged nails. So how do we know that the nails are damaged? Sometimes you can see uneven surface or white spots and not much changes in the color of the nail plate. And that means that the damage is superficial. It's not very deep, it's just on the surface. And that can happen after extended nail polish wear, sometimes gel polishes wear. Deeper damage shows up as variation in color and sometimes uneven surface, big jumps in a nail plate, but sometimes the nail is damaged evenly, so it really depends. The color of the nail plate, natural nail plate, is semi-transparent, kind of milky. So the thin areas will be more red or darker, and the thicker areas will be more milky and lighter. So this is how I look at the nail when you guys send me pictures of the nails. I look at the color. So how is the color? Is the color even? And what is the texture of the nail? Natural nail has a bit of a texture, and that's normal. And usually you can see ridges that are running up and down the nail, and that's completely normal. A nail that is very smooth without any texture is usually a damaged nail. Scratches also indicate surface damage, usually done by file. I also look at how the light is bouncing off the nail, and even lines suggest even surface. And this is why I ask you guys always to send me very good quality pictures where I can zoom in all the way and see the texture of the nail and how the light bounces off the nail. So how does the damage happen? It can happen in 3 ways. It has nothing to do with products that are toxic, because none of the products, and I'm talking legit brands obviously, are toxic when used as directed. So the damage can happen during buffing, so prepping the nail before application, during the actual wear, and that will surprise many, and it can happen during the removal process, and I'm going to explain in detail. So when you apply a coating on the nail, the coating has also stick to the nail, and it has to stick well, because obviously we don't want any peeling polish or gel polish. In order to create that bond, usually the nail cannot be very smooth, and it needs to have a bit of more texture. So that's why you often see me removing the natural shine from the nail with the buffer. So we buff lightly the natural nails to improve the bond. So yes, buffing is not good for the nails, but it has to be done in order for the polish to stick to the nail. So over time, that buffing or filing can really add up. With hair, to avoid overprocessing, we usually would apply the color to the roots. With nails, that's why you see me buffing only the regrowth. But be very careful, because the buffing, let's say the buffing removes 1 layer of the nail. So people will say, well, it's okay, you still have 49 layers approximately, okay? So that's not too bad. But the thing is, if you remove that 1 layer, let's say every week, with light buffing, then at the end of the nail, the oldest part of the nail has almost received 20 buffings. So almost half the nail is removed at the end. So you wonder why the nails peel and break at the ends. And that is when we buff with a very light pressure and a buffer. Buffers are usually 220 grit. Many nail techs use much coarser files to improve the bond, and these files can be 180 or even 100 grit. So the lower the grit, the coarser, the more harsh the file is. A coarse file with pressure can thin the nail really, really fast to almost nothing. So be very careful how you prep the nails. Number 2, any coating that is bonded to the nails can damage the nail surface. So this is from my experience, even nail polish can do that. And the more the coating is bonded, the more damage it can produce. So especially when we're using force, so when we're using our hands and the force is excessive or consistent, something has to give. And I'm going to quote Dr. Valenti. She is a chemist, she's an organic chemist, and here's what she says. When the coating's adhesion to the nail is the weakest, the coating will peel off. When the coating's mechanical properties make it the weakest, the coating will crack and might chip off if adhesion to the nail is also weak. But when both coating and the adhesion to the nail are stronger than the lamellar layers of the nail, then the nail layers will delaminate, so they will peel. Most of these forces of adhesion are not uniform across the nail surface and will result in shallow holes or pockets on the nail surface seen as white spots, because the intact areas of the nail will have different index of refraction than the holes, pockets, damaged areas. So basically, if the bond of the product to your natural nail is stronger than the layers, so the cells or the layers, the cells of the nails are bonded with each other, something has to give, and then the product will peel off or pull off the natural nail. So this was a quote from a conversation about how white spots on the nail are forming from a nail polish or gel polish wear, and I'm going to give you the link in the description box. So with harder coatings like gel, acrylic, or dip, we can see more significant damage because the hardness of the product will pick up larger portions of the nail. If the product is too strong and the bond is too strong, if the nail is hit, the nail can be literally ripped off the finger. So be gentle on your nails and treat them with care. Don't abuse your nails. The removal process. So the removal process for nail polish is very easy, so that doesn't apply to the nail polish. And acetone used for nail polish removal does not cause damage. It might cause a little bit of dryness, but that's not a big deal. And very often people confuse dryness with damage. So when we see a nail that is uneven or flaky, it's actually damaged, not dry. So this isn't damage. I'm going to include a link to a very interesting video about this in the description box, so check it out. How do we remove gel polish? Also called semi-permanent. Here in Spain, for example, a lot of people just call it shellac, but shellac is actually a name of a brand. Some people call it a hybrid. With soak-off gels normally, except for C&D shellac and manicurists, you need to file off or buff off the top coat so the acetone can penetrate through the coating, and it's easier for the acetone to reach the bottom of the coating, so it can swell the base coat and then releases from the nail. Unfortunately, many products are not very easy to soak off. So many nail technicians simply file the product off, and also many people believe that soaking in acetone is bad, so they avoid it. And I don't want to be too technical or detailed in this video, but I will have to say this. If the color is applied on a thin layer of base coat, it is impossible to file it off with a high-speed electric file without hitting the nail. I've been a nail technician for over 25 years, and I've been trained extensively in how to use electric file by the best in the industry, like Cathy Rochemont from Nail Basics, who also trained some really big names in the industry. So I've been using electric files, and I've been specifically trained with electric file for 20 years, and I cannot file gel polish off a thin layer of base coat, leaving the protective layer of a base coat behind. You can file off gel color from a thicker layer of gel, but that's not really then a base coat, that's a gel overlay, which looks thicker. It's a different process. If you think that you can file off gel polish without hitting the nail, and many people say that they can, I propose this exercise. So take a tip, like the plastic tip, and apply a base coat of black gel nail polish, just thin layer, and cure it. Then use 2 coats of white gel polish, cure in between, then use a top coat and cure it and wipe. Then take electric file, or do it by hand and see how much time it will take you to file off from one nail, and file all the white gel, leaving the black layer of base coat without filing through it. I personally can't do it. Maybe some people can. I think it's very, very difficult. So soaking off might be less damaging, but the gel often doesn't just flake off like they show you in the instructional videos. So often people just pry it off and they file off the pieces that are left behind, and they just don't finish the soaking off, which that damages the nails. So how do people remove hard gels? So the traditional gels cannot be soaked off. In theory, They can be, but it would take a very, very long time, so that's never something that is recommended. It's always recommended to file off hard gels. So some people say to leave a thin layer of gel or acrylic on the nail, and that looks good on paper, but in reality it doesn't work, because such paper thin layer of very brittle product does not last. It just chips and flakes off the nail, causing more damage. How do we remove acrylics? So liquid and powder system. I would say the best way of removing acrylics is filing off 90% of the coating and soaking off the rest, but many people don't want to take the time and they just file it off, or they use like a piece of floss, I've seen it, and they remove it that way, which sounds like a torture and I can't even imagine, so terrible. Dip, glue and acrylic system. So there is nothing really healthier or really special about dip. Dip is just an adhesive, so a glue, and an acrylic powder. And it's a very hard coating, so it takes forever to file and it heats up when you're filing it. Then you have to soak it off, and then it becomes a stringy, slimy mess. So it doesn't come off all at once, and then you have to soak it again, and hopefully then it will come off again. So that takes at least an hour if the product is thick. And something to remember, the harder the product, the more it feels like the nails are stronger, but that's very deceptive, right? Very often, and I have talked about it, people get gel or acrylics or dips for the wrong reason. That's just my belief. They get it because the products are harder, and they are harder on their nails, and they don't want to worry about their nails. In my opinion, it should be the opposite. You now have something that is bonded permanently, usually to a weakened nail plate or a weak nail plate. You need to be more careful with it, not less careful with it. It's like a tooth that has a veneer or a filling. You get it for a cosmetic reason, and yes, it makes the tooth maybe stronger, but not really. The lesson is be careful how the products are removed and don't rush it. So what can be done for the nails? Have you ever heard hairdresser refusing to do anything to the hair that is damaged over processed because of risk of that hair totally breaking off? A hair that cannot handle another chemical treatment. It's a similar issue with the nails. Once the nails are damaged, they are missing the outside protective layer, exposing the lower layers of the nail, which are almost a little spongy, and they don't hold any products very well. So nothing sticks to damaged nails like that. So please, no more gel to cover the damage, because that will create even more damage. The only thing that we can do is to protect and condition what we have left of the poor nails. And it pains me to say, but nothing can rebuild the nails, despite what the marketing people tell you. No supplements can fix damaged nails. Some supplements taken by mouth for extended period of time can help how the body forms a new nail, but it helps the new nail, the new growth, not the old damaged part. So if you ripped off gel and the nail is very weak on the ends, especially, taking biotin or anything is not going to help whatsoever. So biotin, for example, can help, but it can help the new growth, not the nail that you see on the nail bed. The nail is being made under the proximal nail fold, so around the moon, the lunula that you see, and that's called matrix. And the matrix cells are producing nail cells, and they are being pushed up, and then they flatten, and then they harden at the top of the nail, at the surface, and then the hardened dead cells simply ride on the nail bed. The nail bed does not make the nail, so the nail is not being produced from the bottom up, it's from the cuticle area out. So really, you can only feed the matrix, so the root of the nail, as it's making the nail. Once the nail is made, it's too late for any changes, for any supplementation. It is important to remember that because the nails, just like the hair, are dead, they cannot absorb any nutrients. The nutrients that you are eating most definitely can benefit the nail, but the new growth, not the old nail. So definitely a good diet is important for nails, but again, the diet and the nutrients cannot affect the old nails, just like the good diet cannot affect the fried and over-processed ends of the hair, for example. So this all sounds very negative, but don't worry, there are a few things that definitely can help. So number one, it's pretty obvious, but treat your nails with care, like glass. Another thing is shorten the nails. I recommend shorten the nails and leaving almost no free edge, so no white part, and this will protect the nails from excessive bending and possibly most likely cracking. And do this weekly on a regular basis. Number 3, warm oil soaks. And this sounds so simple and so easy, and many people just dismiss it, but I have seen impressive improvements in people's nails. And I will include a video where I talk about it in detail. Please check it out, and I'll show you how I do it on my nails. So basically, when the nail has outside layer removed, the nails are more susceptible to damage. Nail like that absorbs too much water and loses too much water. And because the nails are like little sponges, the constant expanding and contracting of the nail eventually will cause damage. And the oil helps to limit that. And the heat helps the oil to seep deeper into the layers of the nail, so then it's not easy to remove that oil from that nail. Oil also keeps the cells of the nail together. It acts almost like a glue that keeps them together. It's like putting an oil-based polish on the wood. It protects the wood. And if you do it a few times, the wood becomes more and more water resistant, right? At some point. So the oil will not rebuild the nail, the damaged nail, but it can definitely protect the damaged layers. And we need every single layer of the nail as the nails are growing out. And the good thing is that as the nails are growing, the new growth will also be conditioned with that oil and protected from the beginning. So as the nail is growing, at the ends, the nails are about 4 months old. So if that nail has received 16 oil soaks throughout the time from the cuticle area to the end, it will less likely to split and break. So it just takes time. Some treatments can help, but it depends on the damage. If the damage is superficial, which shows up as the uneven surface or white spots, damage that can happen with nail polish wear or even gel polish. For that, I like using IBX. I don't find IBX effective on peeling nails, and I'm going to include the link to IBX in the description box. Another thing, CND Rescue RX, it might be helpful for nails like that, but it will give you just some protection as the nail is growing out. And don't expect that product to rebuild or thicken your nails or repair your nails. It just doesn't do that. In case the damage is deep, deeper damage is usually caused by overfiling nails, and then there is a variation of color, you'll see. And the nail is missing a lot of layers. I don't recommend IBX, and that is my personal decision, because when the product is applied on severely thinned out nail, there is a risk of the product seeping through that very thin nail, spongy nail, and over time, there is a risk of developing acrylic allergy, and that's very, very serious. And I'm going to include a very important link in the comments, in the description box as well. Another product that might be able to give damaged nails some protection and seal the top layer a bit is Isden pen. It has mastic gum as one of the ingredients that seems to be effective in improving the condition of the nails. It goes on very light. It's actually alcohol based, but don't worry too much about the alcohol part. And it's brushed on the nails, it's absorbed very, very quickly, and it almost feels like you have nothing on your nails, but the nails just feel a bit more healthy. It has to be used on naked nails, just like Rescue RX, and it has to be used daily. We actually have tried it for a while, and it does seem to be helpful. It does seem to condition the nails. Again, it won't rebuild them, but it might help. And because it's not a polish, or it's not in the polish base, it won't cause additional damage. By the way, no supplements can make the nails grow faster. The growth of the nail is dictated by genetics, age, time of year. The nails grow faster in the summer, and hormones. During pregnancy, for example, nails grow faster. If a company makes a claim that their product makes the nails grow faster, that is a deceptive claim. Don't believe it. And number 5, have patience. And I know it feels like forever, and it feels like you're not making any progress, but you will be making progress. The best thing is to take a picture every 2 weeks and watch that healthy new nail grow out, and concentrate on the progress and not on the damaged state of your nails. That is more productive. Depending on what portion of your nail is damaged, it will take about 2 to 4 months for the new nail to reach the end of the nail. Again, have patience. If the nail is sensitive, okay, so not the nails, because the nail is dead, but if you can feel the nail bed basically through the nail because you barely have a nail, sometimes it is a good idea to apply a coat of clear nail polish just to add something to the nail. I personally recommend Dazzle Dry base coat and top coat. Dazzle Dry is nitrocellulose free, So there's nothing wrong necessarily with nitrocellulose, but nitrocellulose can also contribute to the surface damage. So Dazzle-Dry base coat and top coat are very gentle on the nail. If you are in Europe, there is a brand that's called Catrice, and the base coat with the green bottle is also nitrocellulose free, and I've used it. It's very nice. Sadly, the nitrocellulose free polishes, except the Dazzle-Dry base coat and top coat, don't last very long. They tend to peel from the nail plate after I would say 3-4 days. So just expect that. Don't be surprised when that happens. What you should never do, or what you should never use on damaged nails, you should not use any hardeners, especially the ones with formalin. Formalin is also called very often formaldehyde, which is not, or sometimes it's listed as methylene glycol. Hardeners are great for naturally soft and moist nails that are not damaged. And there are 2 reasons why you don't want to be using it on the damaged nails. Number 1, these ingredients are safe to be used on a very dead nail. And skin contact should be really avoided because there is a possibility of allergic reaction. And if the nail is very thin and basically like half the nail is gone, the product is going to again seep through the nail and make a skin contact, so we definitely don't recommend it. And number 2, they simply don't work because you don't need hardness, which can make the nail brittle, but you just really need more nails. So hardening that little flake of a nail is not going to do anything. It's actually going to dry it out even more and make it super brittle, and make your nails break. So they don't rebuild the nails, they don't repair the nails, they just make the nails harder. And hardeners can make a permanent changes to the nails. So then you have 2 problems. You have then damaged nails, and then you have brittle nails on top of that. So going with the oil is a much better idea. So this is it, guys. I hope this video was very helpful. Please let me know in the comment section what surprised you about this video or about this information. And hopefully we'll see you again. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.